we're going to be chatting about the 5 things you should never say to somebody grieving. At least they're in a better place.
Don't ever say, I know exactly how you feel. It's just better not to. Just don't.
If the words "at least" leave your mouth, you've already justified their loss. It's like, I know that because I believe that, but it doesn't make you saying that any better.
Yeah, and it doesn't make how I feel now any better.
Makes me feel crappier. If they knew they were going to die doing that thing, they probably wouldn't do that thing.
Have you moved on? Let's just think about that.
What we've learnt so far from grief is that you don't move on.
You don't.
You move through.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Good Grief with us.
We've just come back from Sydney, if you were listening to previous episodes.
Yes, we climbed the bridge, the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
And my back knows all about it this week.
So do my calves.
So we're sitting down, very happy to be as well, because we do have stand desks.
Yep.
And we sit and stand.
But I stretched out yesterday and today. How about you?
I haven't stretched today.
Oh.
So I do need to. But we're going to be chatting about sort of the 5 things you should never say to somebody grieving on this episode. Some great memes on Instagram floating around.
Great memes.
But the one that really caught my attention was "at least they're in a better place."
Ooh.
So,
have you said that?
So, I mean, I can't recall, but I probably said it before I knew what grief was.
I probably did too.
So we won't maybe start exactly there, but there's 5 things that we want to cover. And then also we want to cover some things that you maybe should say or ways to flip those things around.
By the way, who's in that meme? Or just no one?
The one that we posted was Leonardo in Wolf of Wall Street. And it just says like
screaming internally.
Yeah, it's the best.
I can't do that face.
We actually credit to the girls at Good Morning on their podcast. They posted this up on Instagram. So credit to Sal and Im.
So good. Got to share something that's good.
So where should we start with 5 things you should never say to someone grieving?
Oh, I've got one. Don't ever say, I know exactly how you feel. If you don't.
Totally.
If you've not been through what that person has been through.
Even if you think you do.
Yeah. It's just better not to. Just don't.
Yeah. So kind of if the words "I know" come out of your mouth, you're maybe on the wrong path to begin with.
Yeah. Or the wrong side of the line.
Yeah. I know how you feel. I know what that's like. I know exactly
what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Impossible to know.
Let's stay away from those ones, people.
Totally. And even someone that's been through a similar situation. So me losing dad, if I hear somebody else has lost their dad, I won't say, I know how you're feeling. I'll say, I've also lost my dad and know how hard it is. I know it's hard. I won't say I know how they feel or what they're thinking at all. But there is like a level of comfort that comes when someone has been through something similar. I know I felt that when I found, oh man, you've lost your dad as well. I could just breathe a bit. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
I think when I come across one of our followers that's also lost their mum like me, I'll say, I feel you. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if that's any better, but I feel like that's better than saying, I know exactly how you feel, because I probably don't. Everyone deals with grief differently and they're,
Or you could say, I feel for you.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, so either I feel you or I feel for you. I lost my mum too and blah, blah, blah. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Strike 1.
Yeah. What do you got?
I know how you feel. For me, it's coming back to where we started on this podcast. It's at least you're in a better place. At least they're in a better place.
Yeah.
If the words "at least" leave your mouth, you've already justified their situation and their loss, and that's a big no-no.
That's a big no-no.
It fires me up big time.
Oh, yeah.
So I've had it happen to me. At least they're in a better place if they know that you're a believer and, the person that you lost, had faith and, at least they're in a better place in heaven. It's like, I know that because I believe that, but it doesn't make you saying that any better.
Yeah, and it doesn't make how I feel now any better.
No. If
But
anything, makes me feel crappier.
Yeah. So like even for those who haven't grieved, think about it. I'm just pulling out this analogy as if you lost a game of soccer at school or whatever. And someone was like, at least you played really well.
Yeah.
And you're like, but that doesn't like counteract the fact that we lost. Yeah. That doesn't make losing any better. So it's like kind of, I feel like that's kind of similar.
Totally.
Yeah.
Loss is not ultimately winning.
Yeah.
Taking that soccer analogy.
Yeah.
I'd rather the win, which is having them here with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think at least they're in a better place. I think the other one is at least they're out of pain. And I was curious to know if anyone had said that to you, because with your mum on cancer journey, you know, often it comes to a point in time, you shared this on episode 1, I think, where you were struggling with the balance. And if you haven't listened to episode 1, go back and check it out.
Yes.
Where you're praying for the miracle, but you also don't want to see them in pain at the same time. So you want them to recover, but you also know that if they do leave us, they will be going to ultimately a better place, heaven.
And healthy and whole.
And out of pain.
But if they stay here, they're most likely to stay in pain.
Yeah. So have you ever had anyone say that to you? At least they're out of pain?
Look, I'm sure we did.
Nothing sticks out.
Yeah, not particular. Like, I reckon we had I was not going to say impeccable. It's not impeccable at all. But like a really wildly good in some way journey with people. Like, I felt like the people that were around us.
And love and support.
Yeah, I don't remember anything from those super close to us. Sure, there would have been some people that met on the street or didn't know, and
you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's something to be grateful for.
I mean, I've definitely heard them being said and stuff like that, but yeah.
Well, the final at least.
Count myself lucky.
The final at least that I had a lot, which I hate with a passion, is at least they died doing what they love.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does that make it any better, folks?
Because, yeah, Dad died flying a plane. You know, didn't die flying a plane. He actually died in a crash.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
I'm glad that I can laugh about that now, as crazy as that sounds for anybody listening. But at least they died doing what they love. It's like, well, if they knew they were going to die doing that thing, they probably wouldn't do that thing. Like if you told me, because I love riding motorbikes, that I'm going to die on a motorbike, I'd probably just stop cold turkey. I'm like, all right, I might take up cycling, you know, or skateboarding or something else. I don't know if
cycling's any better, but...
Not like road cycling, probably like mountain biking or something like that. Definitely not road cycling. You won't see me in Lycra. So at least they died doing what they love. I'm just like, are you even listening to the words coming out of your mouth right now? It's like, really?
Do you think your words justify my dad's death right now?
Totally.
I don't think so.
Keep those out of your mouth. Like, and if you've said them, that's okay. Like I said, I think there's times I've said stuff.
Yeah.
But it's about learning.
When you didn't know any better. When we didn't know any better.
Yeah. The final one that I would say, number 5.
Oh, yeah.
Have you got this one?
Yep.
Is, drum roll.
Have you moved on?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a shocker.
Guys, let's just think about that. Put yourself in their shoes also is a good thing to do before words come out of your mouth.
Yeah, and I think what we've learnt so far from grief is that you don't move on.
You don't.
You move through.
Yeah.
And so...
the grief comes with you.
Yeah.
You might just handle it better.
Totally. And the way it really shifted my perspective reading C.S. Lewis's journey was that he mentioned that he didn't leave the grief behind. He took it with him and it actually became closer to him as he grew. So it didn't necessarily mean that there was as sharper pains or as larger waves when the grief hit, but he actually felt more like grief had become a friend over his journey.
Yeah, well, grief reminds us of the love we had with that person, the memories we had with that person. So
And still have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a time when I heard, "Have you moved on?" And I wanted to just
Yes.
tackle.
Tell us about
I wanted
that.
to tackle and slap the person. It was only early days. Look, I can't remember how early, but if you've journeyed through grief, you know what early days were, and then and it's different for everybody. Early days might be the first week or first month or first year or first 5 years. That might all feel early. But for some, it might be longer or less, right? But I just know it was early days. We were out with some friends that were trying to just get around us and support us and love us, which was awesome and grateful for. And they're still dear friends to this day, right? And
that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we went out, and Mum was there, and one of them asked Mum, "How are you going moving on?" And I was in earshot, and I was like, "Did you just say that? This is a 30-year marriage that's just come to an end."
How many months after would this been?
I don't know. All I know was early days.
Okay.
I would say it was in the months.
Yeah.
Within 6 months or so, I would say. Maybe
fresh,
a year.
Still fresh.
Yeah, still super fresh. Mum was so fragile. And
did she just burst into tears?
No, she bit her tongue.
Wow.
Yeah, she bit her tongue. And we discussed and debriefed that later. But man, I felt so much anger rise up. Even though it was coming from the right place, it was the wrong thing. And the wrong thing from the right place is still the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the wrong thing at the wrong time. Man, those things, can be catastrophic.
Yeah.
So at least I know how. Have you moved on? Those are sort of the big three with a couple of others. Things not to say.
Yeah. So I think what we've learned here is think before you speak, but don't also let your fear of not saying the right thing stop you from saying anything.
And I think thinking before you speak is so much easier said than done. I mean, God gave us 2 ears, 1 mouth. We all know that.
Yes.
But it's so much easier to say than to do.
But also if you're really unsure of what you're about to say, maybe just don't say it. Just listen more.
Maybe count to 5 before you say what you're going to say.
Listening is always good.
And, we shared it a couple of episodes ago, the story of Job, where, he lost everything that he had, everyone that he loved. And so when his friends heard about his loss and his grief, they said, "Oh, we've got to do something. Let's go help Job, and let's go share some advice and some wisdom." And so they journeyed towards where Job was. And when they saw him from a distance, they saw his grief, and they tore their clothes and screamed, because what they saw was completely different to what they thought. And when they got with him, they sat with him and said nothing for days. And so they literally just sat with his grief and just allowed him to grieve. And I can't imagine it would have been silent grieving from Job. There's probably wailing, shouting, kicking and screaming, but they just sat with him and allowed him to process. And so maybe that was because they didn't know what to say, or
Totally.
they didn't want to say the wrong thing. They just wanted to be with him. So I like your advice.
Thanks. I like yours too.
I'll take that on board as well. Think before you speak helps with a lot of things, not just grieving friends.
Not just grieving friends.
Okay, so let's flip to some do's.
Yeah.
What would be your first do?
So I think that you can always help someone by asking, would it help if? So you want to be specific, because grievers have so much going through their head that they
blurry,
often can't verbalize what they think is best or what they think they need. So if you could say, would it help if I came over and we went for a walk? If I brought some takeout over, if I took you out to do your shopping.
If I did the washing.
Mowed your lawn. If we got stuck into the garden.
Really simple things.
Yeah. Be specific because that will help them make a decision.
Yeah. So would it help if and then present them with those ideas? You might just present them with one idea at a time.
One or two.
Yep. Or from what we know with human nature is it is hard to make a decision. But often if we're given a choice of one or two things, for example, if someone enters someone's office, for example, and they say, would you like a drink? That's a harder answer to give than would you like tea or coffee, right? Because now they choose. So you might even say, what would be most helpful if I did your washing or if I took you out for a walk? So you could present them with two ideas as well. Yeah. And I think those are super simple ones.
Yep. We can all do that.
Took you to the movies.
Yeah.
Went for a walk on the beach. Yeah, I love that.
And just you offering that help would be just so appreciated.
Totally.
Because sometimes people don't because they just don't know what to say or are scared or think because they haven't been speaking up, they don't want to see them or whatever.
And I think something also to note is that if the answer is like no or I don't know the first time or you don't get a response, maybe you've texted them or called and they're not picked up, just try again. I think
might not have been the right time or the right day.
Yeah, looking back, I'm so grateful for my friends that were persistent in supporting me through grief. And so just knowing that it's not personal, you know, don't take it that way, that hey, they're just in a spot where literally there's fog. It's hard to explain, but you can't make decisions. It clouds your judgment and your ability to think clearly and to know what tomorrow looks like when I haven't even made breakfast for myself today. It's like a crazy weird space to be in.
It is crazy weird. So just keep asking. Just keep checking in. It's always appreciated.
Super good.
Yeah. What you got?
For me, man, I was blown away when I heard Brene Brown's response to how she handles friends and family in grief. And, first of all, knowing that there's no timeline, there's no schedule to grief. But the first question that she loves to ask people is, what does support look like for you right now?
So good.
Or what does love look like for you right now?
Yeah.
And just seeing where they're at with that. Maybe support isn't what we think it looks like, helping them with the shopping or the things we've mentioned. Maybe it's, far different or far simpler than we thought. Maybe it's just a phone call once a week and they say, hey, if you could just call me once a week, please, I might not pick up, just leave a message. That would be amazing.
I reckon someone, maybe they have already, but grief love languages.
Well, that's interesting.
Have you thought about that before? It just came to me.
I haven't thought about that before.
We've all got our own love languages. Do they change while we're grieving?
That's interesting.
Or do we have whole new ones?
Okay. So for everyone listening in at home, let us know.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Is that a thing? Have you heard about it? Have you noticed it in your journey?
Would you like us to look into that further? Yeah, leave us a comment or some thoughts on this, wherever you're listening in from. Grief love languages. It's a weird thought, but it's not a wild one. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So what does support look like for you right now? What does love look like to you right now? Two amazing questions. Just good to keep in the back pocket.
Yep.
Hey, you come across someone grieving, pull those ones out.
Yep.
Yeah. Little toolkit of grief questions. Awesome. Any others? I think I'm good.
Think you're good?
Yeah. The 5 things not to say, just to recap, is at least they're in a better place. At least they're out of pain. At least they died doing what they love. Have you moved on? And I know exactly how you feel. If we just scrunch them up and throw them out, we'll be on a good path. And then those questions.
Yep.
Would it help
if? Would it help if? Be specific.
Yep. What would help the most?
Yep. What does love and support look like for you right now?
Yeah, super cool.
And just be persistent. Keep checking in. It's very appreciated.
Yeah.
Might not be the right day or the right time, but
100%.
One time it will be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, this has been a short, punchy episode.
Yeah. Hope you got something out of it.
Totally. We wanted to give you a practical one.
Yes.
And we've been loving the feedback so far for the podcast and for everything that we've been doing on social media and in our Facebook group. So thank you.
Yes. And all the things you've been sharing in messages, all the things you guys have been through and things that you found helpful and not helpful.
Yeah. And just a reminder, to let you know, we're praying for you daily.
Yeah, we are.
So thanks for your support. And if you want to hear something specific on the podcast, let us know. We've got a long list already from you, but we're listening. And if you haven't already, please leave us a rating and a quick review on this podcast. It'll help so much. We want to touch as many people as we can, journeying through grief or supporting those in grief, and really make this topic aware worldwide and much easier to discuss as well. So
yeah. It's not as scary as we think it is to talk about.
Totally.
Yeah. Especially if we, make it less taboo.
Yeah, 100%.
So like and subscribe if you like what we're talking about.
We'll see you on the next episode. Bye
Ciao.
for now.